There we are, we're live. Hello, good afternoon. Unusual time for a live broadcast, Saturday lunchtime, but it's so snowy, I might actually manage to get an audience. Now, usually audiences on the Saturdays and Sundays are less, presumably because people are out doing their horses. As I look out the window, I think I might just be able to glean an audience. But if I don't glean an audience, that's fine, because hopefully you'll be looking on replay. So let's just have a little look. I hope everything's working fine. From what I can see, the microphone's working fine, and we can carry straight on. So I hope you're all good. Today, I thought I'd do a little bit of story time. I thought I would read an extract from a book by one of the world's greatest philosophers, Karl Greenwood, from one of the world's greatest books, Control Your Stress and Enjoy Your Horse. Thought I'd just read a little extract there. This book is available to buy. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can go to www.karlgreenwood.co.uk and you can buy it there. There's a sales pitch for you. And here we are. Prepare yourselves. I'm about to read an extract from Control Your Stress and Enjoy Your Horse by the great philosopher, certainly one of the world's greats. In the top 7 billion, certainly. Ready? Ready. Control Your Stress and Enjoy Your Horse by Karl Greenwood. Chapter 1. You become like the people you spend most time with. Choose wisely. That's about it. There are, that's actually most of the context of the book. There are a few tips in it after that, but that is a huge amount of the basis of my philosophy. Les Brown says that his mother said that if you run around with 9 losers, then you're going to be the 10th. If you run around with 9 alcoholics, you're probably going to be an alcoholic. We know this. When you're kids, you know, your parents didn't want you mixing with these kids or mixing with those kids if they thought that you were a bad influence. We know this. But the reason why I've brought my book out and made this fantastic reading, this Jackanory story, is because there's been a couple of posts that I'll put up this week that have had excessive reactions. One was a post. There's been so many. One was a post, we were doing some filming for a music video, walking the horses down the street, and depending on where we put the post, it got, that's good, that's marvelous. And then because it was a music video, obviously we had to dress how we have to dress, and there was no hats on, which, as you know, if you follow my philosophy, isn't a cause for positivity or negativity. Fact is, you could go out stark naked and you'd probably be all right. But if you want to wear hats, then, or are able to wear hats, then it's a good idea without making a fuss. Same as seat belts, looking left and right when you cross the road. I have a big passion about hat hysteria, where people go absolutely mad about hats, and people going crazy about hat hysteria just reinforces the suspicion that horses are waiting there, waiting to kick your head in. Therefore, you must wear a hat. Fact is, they're not waiting to kick your head in, but it's sensible to put a seatbelt on, to look left and right, sensible to wear a hat, sensible to put on high vis. It's just sensible, but let's not get hysterical about it. And at the end of the day, my phrase comes down to hats save lives, hat hysteria destroys confidence. So when a video comes on, an article comes on, and we're not wearing hats, there were other safety measures in place. For a start off, there was 4 people walking around the artist, so there was no chance of him falling off. We trained the horse for quite a long time that day of everything that was going to be about. The horse was at walk. We brought another horse to keep it company, so it had the reassurance of another horse being there, and also you could place the horse so to direct the horse exactly where we want it to go. So by the time Hannah had ridden the horse for an hour probably, and it was only 100 yards, horse knows where it's going, plus the horse is trained, it's done the same. It was the right horse for the job. But anyway, obviously the hats comment came up on one of the posts, but this was interesting. The hats comment and the negativity and all the usual stuff, you're being irresponsible, what kind of example are you setting to the kids? And then our response, I say our, Zana's responses, because Zana's a lot calmer and more patient with people than I am. She's absolutely fabulous. If ever any of you were phoning up for the Rider Confidence course and were lucky enough to get Zana on the phone when you're umming and ahhing whether to come or not, you'll know how thoroughly excellent she is. So anyway, she's patient and she's putting on educational comments as to the reasons why we haven't got hats. I'm a bit more brief. I'm like, well, the director in the costume department says wear this, so we wear that. But she goes on to explain all the ins and outs, so she's very good. And so the comments came in, but the trick was that some negative comments came in quite hard and fast first. Now, when the post goes up and it says quite clearly we're filming, we're making a music video, and it says a little bit about the training in the video description, but the video then gets shared. That share goes round the internet and people just see the video, don't read the description, and as you know, instinctively put whatever they want to put. What sort of example are you setting to our kids or whatever? If you want to see the post and see all those fantastic replies, it's on Stampede Animals and Stampede Stunt Company page, and it's really interesting. What's super interesting is that the post then the comments quite rapidly descended into a slanging match. And this is the thing, and this is why I read that article from my book, that excerpt from my book. You become like the people you spend time with, so choose wisely. Particularly, Facebook will latch onto these comments coming up and it'll see the content of the comments. Irresponsible, hats, danger, horse, and it will look around for people who have included those kind of words in their comments before. So anybody who's particularly scared or nervous of horses and are putting that, you know, I'm scared that I'm going to hurt my head, or a friend hurt my head, or whatever, it'll latch onto those and show them the video. So suddenly you find yourself in an echo chamber of people who are inclined to think about the negative and the dangers of horses. And maybe when on our Rider Confidence, I talk a lot about risk perception rather than risk assessment. Risk assessment focuses only on what can go wrong, and you have to expand your head to find out everything that could possibly go wrong, and you can end up skewing your risk perception. Is it going to go wrong? If you applied this to crossing the road, the risk assessment would look horrific. The risk perception is roads can be dangerous, so we'll apply some simple look right, look left, and it's actually fine. Anyway, I digress. The point is, the algorithm of Facebook will show the negative comments, focusing on the negative. And it will, and the more it shows, the more it shows, the more it shows. So you find yourself in this world where people are only pointing out the dangers of roads, or the dangers of cars, or the dangers of horses, or the dangers of the danger, including vaccines, lockdowns, restrictions, Trump, Biden, China, Korea, the lot. So you find yourself artificially in a world. So while I started off saying the excerpt from my book, I've forgotten it already. You become like the people you spend time with, choose wisely. Be aware that within Facebook, within the algorithm, if you find yourself going into the people who respond negatively to the dangers of horses, who spend more time focusing on the risk assessment rather than the risk perception, you can find yourself seriously in a community of negative people. Which brings me on to my next point, which once those negative people find each other, they then feed off each other. I remember doing a broadcast about anxiety. I was trying to explain about REM sleep, which is the process of dealing with stresses. And if you want to get your anxiety and depression under control, you need some REM. If you can't get REM, that's rapid eye movement sleep, dream sleep. If you can't get REM because you're not sleeping through the night, then you can get it artificially with meditation and hypnosis at lunchtime, and you can help yourself in that way. Whereupon someone who was feeling particularly negative and wanted to point out their view very sarcastically was started saying, so you're just saying it's a good night's sleep, is that all you need? No, I'm saying you need consistency along with positive thinking and everything else that I talk about. But once that had gone up with the crying face emoji, somebody else popped up and joined forces with them, and they had a little conversation about how I was saying it all wrong and it was all rubbish and I didn't know what I was talking about. That started a cycle of more people who may have been, you know, thinking about what I said. Maybe he's got a point, I'll have a little think about that. And then you find yourself watching this conversation. Negative people find each other. Now, if you've got 9 negative people finding each other on a post, that's quite a lot. The algorithm will find it, start showing that post to more negative people. So that's the way that it works. So we need to be careful, especially in lockdown, when people are more worried, they are more anxious, they are more frightened. They're frightened about their health, they're frightened about their kids' education, they're frightened about their jobs, they're frightened about their finances. The stress level is up more, so people are more likely to feel under attack, and subconsciously they are more likely to respond to attacks in the defense mechanisms that we naturally have to respond to attacks. If you get attacked, then you feel anxious, or you feel depressed, or you feel angry. There we are, survival techniques. So then you've got people with a much shorter fuse, and you can see that Facebook and social media can become quite a skewed perception of risk and danger. And if you find yourself in that, you won't find that much positivity and solution-driven focus. The second post that we put up was about people saying that their livery yard is so busy that it's distracting for their horse and they'd like to find a quieter livery yard. The post, you might have seen it. Oh, actually, before I go on to the next subject, I'll just say hello to a few people. Oh, hello, Jenny. Thank you. Yeah, Susan Fay. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm just reading the comments there. I should read Susan Fay. So that's very interesting. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. I was watching the comments. Yeah. Marvelous. Hello, Karis. Hello, Ali. Oh, Ali says definitely, and it does get to you. I just want to go on actually to jokes. So when people make jokes, so I was saying that a busy livery yard is an asset, and I made this post of a load of people in turn of the century going across a bridge, a load of horses, carriages, absolutely packed out, so busy. I mean, ridiculously busy. I just made a little sarcastic post, and someone was saying, problem is my livery yard's too busy. And it made a point. And then Zana put some words to it, which absolutely defined it beautifully and made a really good article. I've sent out an email. If you're on my email list, then bob it in the, have a look in your inbox. And basically, we've tried to encompass the whole of the post by saying, don't dumb down your horses. They are more capable than you think. They've built cities, they've gone to war, they've built the railways, they've conquered the world. They can do so much. So don't dumb them down and say that they can't. If your livery yard's busy, they are perfectly able to cope with that with the right training. And you can get in a bit of an argument about whether or not it's a good analogy. I think it's an excellent analogy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it up. But I do understand people who say, well, this isn't the correct analogy. But quite quickly, one section of people began to say this analogy is flawed because back in those days they used to beat the horses, and if they didn't do what you wanted, they got shot or something, which isn't really what we're saying. What we're saying is don't dumb down your horses. And again, through Facebook and the comments, it all started getting skew-whiffed and going on about how people would beat their horses and it wasn't really fair and it isn't really a very good analogy. Which, yeah, I suppose I don't agree, but it's up for discussion. And then some jokes started coming in about, well, I can't remember. Someone was making a joke about their Welsh cob, and this doesn't apply to their Welsh cob, and this doesn't apply to their horse that jumps at the wrong coloured leaf. All jokey, ha, ha, ha. But once you pass the joke, the actual fundamental message you're saying is, this doesn't apply to me. And if you're saying, don't dumb down your horses, doesn't apply to me, then what you're saying is, I'm going to dumb down my horse. So somebody said that it doesn't apply because hers is a Welsh cob, or something along those lines, but much more funny than that. It was a funny comment, but the implication was that it doesn't apply to Welsh cobs. Whereupon I used to have Welsh cobs and I like them. Don't dumb down Welsh cobs. I appreciate that what you were saying was a joke, or said in a funny way, but the underlying sentiment is the same. You'll find that jokes, although I don't want to be serious and grim, but I don't want to make jokes about stuff that simply isn't true. Jokes, because they're jokes and because they're jest, and there's lots of negativity that comes in jest, people find themselves repeating this. For example, a horse bites at one end, kicks at the other, uncomfortable in the middle. That is a joke. It's a joke. But repeat jokes enough and they still go in, just as if you were meaning it seriously. Back in the 70s, racist jokes and sexist jokes were just jokes. But it's no surprise to me that Jim Davison is now on social media just spouting racial hatred and right-wing nonsense and really angry about Brexit and everything else. Who's surprised? He spent all of the 70s making racist jokes, and now it turns out that he does actually believe that after years of saying it's just jokes. It wasn't just jokes. And this brings me to the interesting suggestion that this page here and my posts and the comments actually does need to be an echo chamber. It needs to be not discussing whether or not horses are dangerous. They're not. Not discussing whether crossing the road is dangerous. It's not, as long as you stick to the rules. Not discussing whether driving your car is dangerous. It's not, if you take the right precautions. Not discussing whether any of the danger, whether riding a bicycle, any of the dangers of life, where you have to have a risk perception that doesn't overly focus on the risk management. So although I don't like echo chambers in my social media, as in I like to have a nice broad spectrum of contacts and friends on my Facebook. So some will come from one political side, one will come from another political side. I don't just want to be shouting to the preaching to the converted. On this page, I think there is so much out there that is preaching to the converted in the negative sense. And that is emphasized by the leisure community, the Facebook algorithm around that part of the leisure community. That I think I do need to be an echo chamber, because I am having the most enormous fun on my horses, and it just breaks my heart when other people are just focusing on how bad it is. So to finish, I'm going to read a little excerpt from my book. Won't surprise you to know it's the same one. You become like the people you spend most time with, so choose those people wisely. That's me done. Thanks for listening. If you've got any suggestions, questions, comments, stick them in the comments there. Any questions that you've got, I'll try to answer it in the next broadcast. It's been long and philosophical, this broadcast, so I hope it hasn't been too heavy, but it's been super interesting. I hope you get to see those posts, and have a lovely day. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Let's turn this thing off.